Hello, welcome back to Unity Impact, a YouTube channel dedicated to game development. Today we'll be talking about instantiating game objects in Unity. In simple terms, that just means duplicating prefabs into the game scene. I'll first drag the slime game object in the hierarchy into the assets section and deleting it from the game scene by removing it in the hierarchy. This way, there will be no pre-existing game object in the game when it runs. I'll also make another game object so that I can later show the different things you can do with instantiation. Here, I'm just making a sphere with a different color, maybe purple, to make it stand out and easy to see. Okay, now that that's done, we can start duplicating them into the game scene. If you attend the first session or take computer science, you'll know about functions, but I'll just briefly explain it here. A function takes in a parameter, which are variables, to operate on those variables. And to call on a function, you'll have to use arguments, which is basically defining those variables' value and what they are. So, to use the built-in Unity instantiate function, we'll need to define the game object we'll duplicate, the position they'll be in, and their rotation. So first, I'll create a sphere in the cube's position and have the rotation be quaternion identity. The quaternion identity basically gives the default rotation of the game object, and I'll instantiate this game object when the space key is pressed. To make the code easier to read, I'll just define the cube position outside of the instantiating method and call it pause for short. Now I'll duplicate the slime object 5 units away from the cube and make the slime stand 2 units away from each other by putting it in a for loop. I'll quickly explain the for loops and how it works. So if you got it, just skip this section. So I'll just copy what I wrote in Visual Studio. So for int equals 0, int is less than 5, int plus plus, and instantiate prefab at a certain position and rotation. So we're not going to worry about prefab or rotation. We're just going to understand how the for loops work and how it is duplicating 5 objects 2 units away from each other. So the statement is for position is new vector 3, and inside we have 3 arguments, I times 2, 0, and 0. And each of that argument stands for x, y, and z. So let's try and go through this for loop. So if I is equal to 0, then x is equals to 0 times 2, which is 0. So we plot that in, and now I will add 1 to itself, and now I is equal to 1. 1 times 2 is equal to 2. We plot that in. Now I plus 1 more, and I is now equals to 2. 2 times 2 is 4. We plot that in, and we continue until we have 4. So I equals to 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So now I adds 1 more, so now I becomes 5. But 5 is not less than 5, it's equal to 5, so that statement is false. So therefore the loop ends. So here in the graph we have the x position as 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8, and the y and z coordinate is 0. So remember, I++ just mean increment the value of I by 1. If we look at this from a 3D standpoint, we have us, the player, the cube, which we have added to the game, and we will And the game prefab, which I'll just draw as a circle, will stand 2 units away from each other, and it will stand in a line in the x-axis, not the y or z. Okay, Control F, and let's see if this works. Nope. And the reason for that is because we haven't defined what slime or sphere is. If you click on the script or the cube, you'll see a space to drag the prefabs in. And when you drag in, you'll tell Unity that lowercase slime means uppercase slime, and lowercase sphere means uppercase sphere. Now Control S and run the game. And it worked. I forgot that the cube is moving, so let me just comment that code out by using Control /, okay, Control S, and run the game. It works. Notice how the sphere is showing up in front of the cube and not in the cube's position. That's because of the rigid body which pushes the prefab forward. I don't see the slime, so it probably is on top because I forgot and defined the Y position as 5F, so it's probably on top of the cube. Let me change that, and now everything is working. Hopefully you got something out of this. Don't forget to subscribe, follow us on Instagram, and check out our website in the description. And see you next time.